Okay, we shall start. We have Facebook Live running here on the iPad. We have the Zoom calls running here as well. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, give me a thumbs up, give me a wave. Um, Probably jump onto the Zoom call as well because I'll be sharing charts there. You can see the charts on the when I share my screen. So I'm pretty sure one of our guys will be putting in that link there for you as well. For everyone in the Zoom call, thank you again for coming in. This is our second week. We completed our second week of doing this session already. I hope you've been liking it so far. Every day at 11 o'clock, I'll start this call. We start at about 11:10, where I'll be going through a different currency pair, a different analysis every different day. So today is US CAD and oil. We'll be talking about that. On Monday, it is Aussie and Kiwi. On Tuesday, it's Euro. On Wednesday, it's pound. On Thursday, it's the yen, US yen, Euro yen, pound yen, and talking about gold as well. So every day, tune in at 11 o'clock. We'll be talking about different currency pairs, different commodities. Main purpose of this is really to give both the investors and also the traders a overview of what's likely to happen in the market, so that you can not only prepare for your investments and your cash flow, but also if you want to take advantage of the short-term moves in the market, you can also start trading it, especially while we're all sitting at home with a little bit more time than we anticipate. So good way to start trading, and also to learn how to start trading to build that cash flow for yourself. All right, so let's get started. If you have any questions, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat, either in Facebook Live or in the Zoom call. Then when I see it, I will answer you, right? Then if you have any, I'll be running some polls as well. I really appreciate if you would participate in those polls. And then we will now start looking at the CAD. So let me just share that screen. So it's, as usual, give me a thumbs up if you can see my chart on the US CAD. All right, couple of thumbs up there. The US CAD chart, while we are looking at it, I always start off on the daily time frame. So this is on the daily chart, make it so that I give predominantly for the investors. I don't normally trade on the daily chart. There's too big a time frame. I feel that for a lot of traders who look at it on the daily chart, if they try to look at it on the daily chart, they're more likely to require a little bit more capital, because either you trade a lot smaller and then even if it moves, you don't make as much profit. So you need a bit more capital to sustain that risk, because you're taking a little bit more risk in terms of the fluctuations. So when I look at the daily chart, it's actually a bit more for the investors rather than so much for the traders. I suggest daily chart. Right now, we're looking at price sitting at a support level of 1.40121. Right, it is at a support level. Last week, expectation was looking for it to break that level, to go lower. But I always like to stick my neck out to do a bit of a trade call for you, because we want to see what's happening. You're sitting in this, you want to know what's the likely direction, right? So I try to do a bit of a trade call. It didn't break that support level, right? So it didn't break that support level strongly. It came down a little bit before retracing back up quite quickly. I'll tell you why it retraced back up. So it's still sitting at the support level right now. At this point, do we expect it to be shooting upwards towards the 1.45, or to continue back down, to try to go back down again towards the 1.33 level? At this point, we need to look at triggers, because it really can go up there or it can go down there. I don't want to be telling you, hey, it can go up, it can go down. So let's find out a more likely direction, whether it is more likely to move up or more likely to move down. The main triggers, again, will be economic reasons. For the CAD, it will also be because of what happens in oil. It also could be because of what happens in terms of the US dollar. So three factors that could impact the direction of the US CAD. Now, so I'll switch over to the news. Just let me flick that across. All right, so do you see my Forex Factory now? Yep, okay, cool. So Forex Factory, we use that for our news to give us all the news information when we trade, you know, or when we even just want to keep track of what's happening in the market. We look at Forex Factory because it breaks down into all the different currency pairs and news of different importance. It gives us the previous news, it gives us the forecasted, and at the specific time, it tells us the actual news that's being released, the actual data of the news being released. At this point now, there's really no real triggers of what could move the CAD higher or lower, apart from, let me just scroll down and find that news for you here. So, okay, the Bank of Canada actually came out saying that oil price alone would have required a 100 basis point rate cut. Okay, so they're talking about, hey, if oil has that much of an impact on the CAD, that with such a big drop in the oil prices recently, it would even have to resulted in a 100 basis point rate cut, massive rate cut from the Bank of Canada. So that's one of the sentiments that's been playing through in the from the Bank of Canada, leading towards that, which could lead towards the directions of the US CAD. Okay, is my videos coming through okay? Just to check. I just saw that it says I had a bit of an unstable internet connection. All good? Okay. So one thing you need to pay attention to is that we had let me just find it. Okay, on Wednesday, 2 days ago, two nights ago, we had the Bank of Canada with their rates decision, right? They did not cut rates. They kept their rates at 0.25. So previously was 0.25, expected 0.25. They kept it at 0.25. What happened in this sense was that although they didn't cut rates, in the rate statements, so if you read the statements here and the policy, monetary policy reports, they actually did come out and say that they had a whole package of stimulus, of purchases, of different tools or different they always call it weapons, to try and stimulate the economy, to try and boost the economy. So because of that, what happens was we saw a weakening of the Canadian dollar. Let me jump back to the charts again to show you. This is the daily time frame. So we're a bit hard to see the weakening of the Canadian dollar here. On the 4-hour chart, we could see that happening. Right, I'll zoom it in a little bit for you. Right, on Wednesday night, we actually saw that weakening in the 4-hour chart, where they released the news. They didn't cut interest rates, and they released the news that they had a whole suite of tools to try and stimulate the economy. And when a central bank comes in to say that they want to stimulate the economy, it really gives that sentiment that it's not doing that well, right? Because if it's doing well, you don't have to stimulate it. So it's not doing that well. So it was a bit of a negative, a bit of a dovish sentiment towards the market, towards the Canadian dollar, which is why we saw the Canadian dollar shooting up. If I show you that exact moment the news was released, is at this point here. With that news release, it was a 70 pip upward move, right? It was a 70 pip upward move, but it came back down again, and then it set at that level straight away for the next day. So while it was a stimulus, while they did come in and give that tools to stimulate the economy, to print a bit more money, it didn't have a very big impact because it wasn't a massive stimulus. It was just something to, I feel that it was just something to test the market, right? To put it in, just to get started. They'll probably ramp it up in the future if they had to. Okay, so that's why we saw at that point only a 70 pip move before it sat there across again. I see a lot more people joining into the Facebook Live. Just a reminder, if you're on Facebook Live, you cannot see the charts that I'm sharing on the computer here. Well, you can't see the computer. Jump onto the Zoom call if you want to see the charts that I'm sharing at this point. So back to talking about the CAD again. We are looking at it sitting at a level, at this support level right now. I do believe in the shorter time frame, we actually could see it moving back up, right? Not massively. At this point, I think that it's probably going to be a good 140, 150 pip move upwards, right? I do think that this would be a nice trade, because if it does move up, let's say at that point, I'll be risking 60 pips, right? I'll be risking 60 pips or slightly even more towards making 130 pips. So risking 60 to make 130. I haven't got that pole. I wish I had that pole there, but if you think that would be a great idea, that's a trade that I'll be looking at. Taking advantage of a relatively small stop loss, a relatively small risk towards a 1 to 2 times, or possibly even 3 times reward in terms of profit levels as well. So that's something that I'll be paying quite close attention to in terms of a trade idea. At this point, though, I don't think that it's going to happen today. Maybe today, maybe next week that this trade might happen. So if we bring it back to the 4-hour chart, that would probably be something that I'll be looking at later in the week rather than this week. Okay, later in next week rather than this week, because there's not much stimulus happening, not much news happening this week. Make sense to you so far? Any questions? I'm looking at the chart for any questions. Okay, no questions so far. Well, while I'm waiting for you to type in some questions, I'll launch my first poll. Is how did you get to know about this webinar? All right, I do this webinar every day. I'm hoping more and more people jump on as well. So where did you know about this webinar? We got Facebook Live, we have the Telegram channel, we have members from the Traders Club, or we have even friends sharing that link. If you can just jump into that, that would be fantastic. After the CAD, we'll jump into the oil, and oil has been really, really interesting. Kawai, I just asked, how do I add the stochastic chart? Kawai, who's been drawing lines on my screen? Okay, Kawai, how do I add the stochastic chart? It's how you add in an indicator, right? So just head into the indicators, and then you can jump on. You can add that on. Actually, I'll tell you a better idea is I'll get Daniel to reach out to you individually, and then he can coach you through that step as well. Okay, we have 20 something of you in here, and only 19 of you have jumped onto the poll. Get onto the poll, answer that. Okay. Let's move on to oil. Okay, oil has been very interesting. I would actually use a different chart to show you oil right now, because it's going to be so much easier here. Let me jump onto that for you. Oops. All right, if you can see my oil chart right now, give me a thumbs up. Good. So oil, I decided to not use MT4 because we are at historic lows on oil right now. It is at 19.86 level. So historic lows, I needed trading view to show us, to go real far back to show us where was the last time we hit this price level. And if I were to scroll my chart, the last time we were at this level was in December 2001, right? December 2001. And the last time we broke below this level was even in February 99, right? And then, well, actually February and 86, April 86. So it's been a long time since before we came below this level. And that's why we're at historic levels right now, 19.87 in terms of the USD WTI. So what's going to happen here is that we need to find out, one, why did it drop that much? What's likely to happen from this point onwards, and the possible direction or stimulus that could move the prices either higher or lower. Okay, so how many of you are familiar? Those of you, give me a chat. Are you familiar with WTI? Is this something that you trade actively? In the chat, especially, I haven't got a poll for this, so if you got it in the chat. Okay, no. Hey, everyone's saying no, so I'm going to skip this. Nah, I'll be nice. I'll talk about it. Okay, so while a lot of you don't trade this, I can tell you that personally, I don't trade WTI a lot as well. It's only been a very interesting commodity that I look at recently because of the recent moves, because of the deals that OPEC has been trying to work through because of the recent virus situations. That's why the WTI has become even more interesting. It's something I'm slowly paying a bit more attention to right now. Okay, so what has been happening is OPEC. Okay, if you're familiar, just to give you a bit of a background, OPEC has recently, I think over the weekend, came to the agreement that they have come to a reduction of their production levels. So they've cut by about 10 billion, if I'm not wrong. So about 10 billion in terms of production levels on the 10 billion barrels per day. But that didn't have that intended effect, right? So when they came to the agreement, expectation was, hey, when they cut production, supply levels is likely to cut, and then we could see the prices of oil shoot up, right? So not really 10 billion, 9.7 billion, 9.7 million, but not 9.7 million. So it was not a huge number, which resulted in, although the agreement came through, it didn't move the market as expected. What happened was oil prices continued dropping, right? Because 9.7 million barrels per day was not a significant number in the overall scheme of things. Then what happened recently, if I jumped into the daily chart here, was yesterday we saw a continuation of that drop. Right, we saw further downside towards the WTI. What happened there was, although there was a 9.7 million barrel per day reduction in from the agreement from OPEC, a reduction in that, although still resulted in what happens in the virus, demand for oil has dropped, travel has decreased, airlines are requiring less oil, vehicles or productions, everything is requiring a lot less oil. So demand for oil has dropped. As demand for oil drops, and although supply has dropped by 9.7 million, it's not dropped significantly. So we're still at a slight scenario of a oversupply in oil. With that oversupply in oil, what's going to happen to price? Price is likely to continue dropping, which is what we saw yesterday. All right, over the past couple of days, price has continued to drop. So with this price continuing to drop, it is at a very strong support level right now. Looking at it, the last time we were there was 02. So it's a very strong support level right now, what we believe is that at this point, it's probably going to sit there. It's going to try and drop a bit lower, but it's going to sit in that region for maybe a little bit of extended period of time, because in June, they're likely to have another OPEC meeting again, right? They're likely to have another OPEC meeting again in June, which could lead to further reduction in production. So we could see even a cut in production in terms of oil. But the question now is whether June is too late, right? Whether it's going to be too late in June because we're only now in April. So in a couple of months' time, we could see the reduction dropping, but is it going to really, what's price going to happen at that point? So we're going to be a bit more patient with oil because it is at a massive support level. Let me just bring back that line again, right? It's at a massive support level at about 1988. So be more careful at that point. Will I be trading it? At this point, I wouldn't be thinking so much. I'll be looking for it to break below that level, then maybe take a little bit of a speculative trade, or for news to come out for it to shoot upwards and then maybe trade it up again. But bearing in mind that there could be another OPEC meeting in June with possible rate cuts, not rate cuts, with possible production cuts, but more importantly, that demand for oil has dropped because of the virus situation. So because of that, we should be a bit more careful if you're looking at what's happening in oil. Does that make sense to you so far? Give me a thumbs up in the chat or in Facebook Live. Give me a wave. Give me a response if that's going to help you with your trades. Yeah, yep. Okay, I see a few response there. I see somebody ask me. Soon what asked, what about pound US dollar? Hey, pound US dollar was 2 days ago we talked about. Okay, so I'll do you a favor. I'll jump back into that. We've got a bit of time. I'll start reviewing some trade ideas that we talked about during the week. I'll try and do that every Friday as we do a review. So here we go, pound US dollar. Hey, while I'm going through a review, I'm going to launch another poll. Give me so that I know whether I'm speaking to expert traders here or you guys need me to go a bit slower in terms of guiding you through the process. So let me see, what's your Forex trading experience? I'm launching the poll. A bit more selections there for you. You know, whether you don't know anything about trading, you want to just get started, I'm going to help you get through that. Or you know a little bit, you've traded on a demo account, you know, trading a live account, you're a super experienced trader, you're just here to watch, or a lot of my students have been on a trading hiatus for a long time, sitting at home, want to get started again, and jumping back onto this call. So while you're in the Zoom call, you jump onto the polls and let me know what kind of trading levels are you trading at right now. Okay, so while you're doing that, I would look through the charts again. We spoke about Aussie. We spoke about Aussie on Monday. Looking at the 1 hour time frame, I can't remember what I said at that point, you know, but I think we were looking at it coming lower towards the 0.6162 level before possibly breaking downwards. It retested a resistance before trying to come back down again. Now it's looking like it's testing that resistance. So we see Aussie trading in that range. It's been quite a good range. It's quite a comfortable range, about 250 pips. So, you know, it could continue moving in that range before we see further stimulus. One thing that I want to recap was that we saw in Aussie news, employment data was very good in terms of the Aussie dollar. In terms of Aussie economy, what happened there was that it caught everyone by surprise. Why is the employment data so good? It was actually more because that data was capturing what happened last month, right? So we haven't seen the impact of people staying home. We haven't seen the impact of the virus situation happening in Australia, which is why we haven't seen that possibly negative impact that the virus is likely to have on employment. So I'll pay a bit more attention to the employment data for next month in terms of the Aussie dollar. All right, so that was one of the surprises that came out. New Zealand dollar, at that point, we said that it was going to sit in that resistance level before possibly coming back down again. It has sat in that resistance level before dropping. Now it's still testing that resistance. So the market hasn't been very directional. It's actually been sitting in a range quite consistently over this week because if you think about it, nothing much has changed in terms of news. You know, we're getting a bit saturated in terms of the virus news as well. No real economic data being released this week. So we haven't seen significant directional moves. The euro, you know, tried to go up, still sitting in that range right now. You know, at that point we said it could go up to this level, was hoping for it, but it didn't, and it didn't really move, okay? Euro pound is still in my blue area. It's still in my blue zone. It hasn't done anything. If you're trying to enter, you're trying to force a trade out of euro pound, that's probably one of the worst things you can do. It's still sitting in the zone because as we look at the euro, we also look at the pound. They've been contradicting each other. That's why the euro pound has been sitting in that range right now at 0.8725. But this is going to be an interesting pair. Not right now, but in the maybe medium to longer term future, because as it sits in that level, if it does break out of this level, we could see it move quite significantly. So this is something to forget for now, but to keep watch. All right. Pound US dollar, we were looking at it going up towards this level. It went up and then stopped, and then now it's still sitting in that range. This week, you can see that everything has been quite tight. It's almost like I'm repeating myself. Yen has done exactly what we expected. It sat in that range. It sat across and done nothing. Is it going to move higher? Let's look at what's going to happen in terms of the US dollar. Are they going to be a little bit stronger at the end of the week as people close up positions? Possibly not, but we could see some move towards that upwards. Let's see what happens in terms of the yen. The euro yen hasn't done anything as well. It just dropped a little bit, tested the support level, came back up. So you see that, I say it just then, you know, I'm really repeating myself. Everything has just dropped a little bit or gone up a little bit before sitting in that range again. Pound yen pretty much set across. Gold is coming back towards, it's gone up. You know, I really like how the price action is happening at that point. It's gone up, it's coming back down and trying to test the 1690 level. I'm looking for it to break below that level before possibly selling that relatively aggressively. But that was a counter trend trade, so do be careful if you want to sell that down. And then CAD we just spoke about. All right, so let me just check on the polls. All right, a lot of you are traders, not many newbies. So if you do have questions in terms of your trading, what I do suggest is I do this session every day, talking about different currency pairs. If you have any questions, you know, think about it the day before, come in and ask me questions in the chat. If you, I see a chat coming up. All right, so if you have any questions, put it in the chat as well. That's how you best make use of these sessions that I'm doing. Share this, get more people on it. It is free. I'm doing this because I'm stuck at home. I've got nothing else to do. I'll continue doing it as well when I'm not stuck at home. The other thing is I do a weekly live call as well. So I do a live call for my members in the Traders Club. Let me just share with you about what the Traders Club is. Wait, hang on, how do I get that? So Traders Club is something we have on Facebook, the LCMS Traders Club here. If you go on Facebook, just search LCMS Traders Club, you'll find that it's a private group where we are sharing, you know, all the coaches are in there, all our clients are in there. We're sharing, well, the currency call videos. If you need help, if you're a total newbie and you need some help in terms of your trading, or even just setting up your platform, you know, put it up there. We have people jumping onto the call, jumping on to reply you straight away. We have the Telegram signals, right? So if you're on a Telegram, a lot of you came from Telegram. If you're on Telegram, you receive our trade signals, right? It has been doing very well in the overall scheme of things. It's been doing very well, but on Telegram, we just tell you what the trade signal is. We tell you where to buy or sell. We tell you what stop loss, what take profits. In this private group, we not only tell you that trade signal, we tell you the analysis behind that trade signal. We tell you why we're getting into a trade, the step-by-step system, the logic behind that trade. So we tell you why we get into the trades. We have 3 take profit levels for a signal. We tell you when to get out of a trade, whether you get out at take profit 1 or, hey, it's hit take profit 1, hold on to it. It could go to take profit 2, or to get out at take profit 2 because it's gone outside a Bollinger Band, or because price action looks like it's terrible, or because there's a news coming out, which level to get out at. So that's the different take profit levels. We have the explanations. We have people sharing their trading journeys, highlighting possible hurdles and pitfalls that they've gone through and you probably want to avoid. So we have people sharing their trade ideas, their views, the signals. We have members sharing possible trade ideas that they're looking at, whether they want to buy, So this is really a place that you have someone to check with, right? A lot of times we're all sitting at home alone, trading, and then you want to enter a trade. You don't have that confidence. You don't know what's happening. You want to enter a trade. And the moment you enter a trade, you regret it straight away. Hey, this private group here is really for you to double check, right? Make sure that you got put in your trades, have a trade idea, put it in, have people feedback to you, whether it's a great idea or not. Overall, I forgot to put this disclaimer at the start. I'll put it in right now, is we share trade ideas. I share a lot of my ideas here. At the end of the day, if you're going to jump into a trade, make sure that it is something that you're comfortable with. Make sure that it's something that you have done your own analysis on as well. So how do you join Traders Club? You can head on to the Facebook group, click join. One of our guys will probably send you this link, which tells you more about the Traders Club, learn and profit together. It tells you what you will get from the Traders Club. Right? The trade signals, how you learn from it, analyze our charts, our daily watch list. So you might even be receiving my analysis on a daily basis in terms of from the blog. I also highlight to you, telling you what kind of trades, what is your watch list should be having every day. Have your questions answered as well. There's a Telegram signals. All right, so it's $49 a month or $199 in a year. I would suggest go $199 a year is a no-brainer compared to $49 a month. But if you want to do $49 a month, I'll be happy to take that on as well. Okay, so if you want to join the Traders Club, click join now, and then you can get on board in terms of the Traders Club, asking questions and getting your feedback as well. I see a couple of chats coming up. Okay, Jinwei sent out that link as well. Any other questions while we're looking at this? Any other questions in terms of the charts, in terms of any trade ideas? I answered one question on the pound. Let me see. No other trade idea, no other questions. Anyone else? I'll give you a minute while I'm looking for more questions. Tommy, WTI versus USD, WTI versus, I would say it probably, wait, hang on, just let me double check. Not much difference. The prices are the same. So, I think TradingView just has it as USD WTI. I used it just as an overview from before as well. So not much difference, Tommy.
You're not sharing the TradingView.
Oh, whoops, sorry. Yeah, but just to answer the question, not much difference. Okay. While we're looking for any more questions, I will launch that one last poll. I'm flooding you all with poll. I've just set up polls. I'm flooding you all with poll. How did you find this webinar? Whether you liked it, whether you wanted a bit more, whether it's terrible and you're not coming back. Okay, Hosun asked, with treasuries, US yields, retreat? Will US continue to be stronger or weaker currency? How soon, looking at US treasuries, the yields is going to play out over a longer period of time. I feel that personally, we could see the US dollar, I think I've been saying this over a longer period of time as well, is that the US dollar is likely to continue to be stronger in relative terms to everyone else. So we could see that, although we could see some weakness in the US dollar, in the overall view, US dollar is still one of the major currencies, global currencies, especially during a uncertain period. You know, it is also one of the reserve currencies. So we could still see US dollar being stronger compared to everyone else. Make sense to you? Okay, good. Then the last thing I want to share with you is, oops, jump down to that. All right, so a lot of our traders, a lot of my students, everyone in the LCMS Traders Club are on this Traders Challenge with SamTrade. All right, so this Traders Challenge is basically where all our students are trading, all the traders from coach under me are trading in this competition. Every month we have a winner, and every month the winner gets 2,000 US cash prize. So if you are interested, you know, reach out to me, let me know whether you want to join. Currently, we are looking at people making, you know, 23%, 20%, 14% in terms of the returns. People are making $1,000 over. We've got Robbie. Robbie is a past winner, consistently past winner as well. These are all previous winners. Robbie's at 500 over. We have Ko Ju Eng, who's at 1,700. You know, one of the benefits about joining the Traders Club is if you want me to coach you, you know, you could use that coaching towards trying to win this competition. You could even use the signals, right? Here's a little tip. Use the signals that we're firing out, copy those signals. We've been a high profit rates, we've been a high probability rates, jump onto this, and then you could start just copying the trade signals and winning that competition as well. That's a possibility. That happened to Robbie a couple of months ago, right? So I'll quit rambling on too much at this point. You know, if you have any questions, join into the LCMS Traders Club. Reach out to any of the coaches, or even come back next week to one of these trading calls as well. I look forward to catching up with you further, and thank you all. Trade safe, trade well, enjoy the weekend, although it's probably going to be the same because you've been at home all day. Take care now. Bye-bye.